Hi there! Welcome back to Psych Bites. You ever catch yourself thinking about something so much that it stops being useful and just turns into an endless spiral of stress? You replay conversations, analyze every little detail, predict worst-case scenarios, and somehow, after hours of thinking, you're still stuck at square one. Overthinking is exhausting. It's like your brain is a browser with too many tabs open, and instead of closing any of them, you just keep opening more. And the worst part? Overthinking feels productive. It tricks you into believing that if you just think a little longer, analyze a little deeper, and prepare for every possible outcome, you'll finally feel ready. But in reality, you just end up more anxious, more drained, and less certain than when you started. The truth is, overthinking doesn't lead to better decisions. It just keeps you stuck. It convinces you that you need more time, more information, more control before you can act. But life doesn't wait for you to think your way to the perfect answer. Sometimes the only way forward is to break the cycle and take action. But how do you do that when your brain refuses to let go? When your thoughts feel like they have a mind of their own? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. 10 simple but powerful ways to stop overthinking and finally free yourself from the never-ending loop of stress and doubt. And no, this isn't just about thinking positive or trying to relax. If that worked, we wouldn't be here, right? This is about retraining your brain so that overthinking stops feeling like a default mode. Before we dive right in, here's some food for thought. What's the one thing you catch yourself overthinking about the most? Is it past conversations, future decisions, relationships, or something completely random? And when you're stuck in an overthinking spiral, what's your go-to way to snap out of it? Or do you just end up overthinking about how to stop overthinking? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about it, because trust me, you're not the only one stuck in the overthinking loop. The first step to stopping overthinking is actually realizing when you're doing it. Most of the time, overthinking doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like preparation. You tell yourself you're just being careful, just trying to make the best decision, just being responsible. But there's a huge difference between thinking through something logically and getting lost in an endless loop of stress and self-doubt. The moment you catch yourself overthinking, you have an opportunity to break the cycle. And one of the easiest ways to do that? Grounding techniques. When your mind is racing, the fastest way to slow it down is to focus on something physical, something real, something outside of your head. A great way to do this is through the 4-7-8 breathing technique. It's simple but incredibly effective. You inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale slowly for 8. This forces your body to slow down and sends a signal to your brain that you're safe. And this matters because overthinking thrives on anxiety. Your brain thinks there's a problem, so it goes into hyper-analysis mode. But when you regulate your breathing, your nervous system calms down, and suddenly those racing thoughts lose their power. But recognizing that you're overthinking and calming yourself down is just step one. Because the real question is, how do you stop yourself from going right back into the spiral? One of the best ways: shift your focus from worrying to problem solving. Overthinking loves to keep you stuck in worst-case scenario mode. What if I fail? What if this goes wrong? What if I regret my choice? But instead of obsessing over what could go wrong, ask yourself, what can I actually do about this? Because worrying about something without taking action is just mental torture. But shifting your focus to solutions puts you back in control. Ask yourself, is this something I can control? If yes, then focus on that. If no, then why spend your energy on it? You don't have to have all the answers right now, you just need to take the next small step forward. And speaking of small steps, let's talk about setting time limits on decision-making. Overthinking thrives when you give yourself unlimited time to think. The longer you analyze, the more your brain convinces you that you need to keep thinking. But most of the time, you don't need more time. You just need to decide. So try this. Give yourself a deadline. If you're stressing over a text message, set a timer for 2 minutes. When it goes off, you send the text. If you're stuck on a big decision, give yourself 24 hours. After that, you make the best choice you can with the information you have. Because the truth is, most decisions aren't permanent. You can adjust, you can learn, you can pivot, but overthinking won't get you any closer to certainty. And sometimes, the best way to stop overthinking isn't to think less, it's to do something else. When your thoughts won't stop circling, one of the best things you can do is change lanes. Overthinking thrives when you're sitting still, staring at a screen, lying in bed with nothing to distract you. That's why the second you engage in something physical, your brain gets a new focus. Go for a walk, put on music and dance like a fool in your room, go to the gym, paint, play a video game, call a friend. Just do something. Because when you break the cycle of sitting and stewing, your brain naturally shifts gears. It's almost impossible to stay lost in thought while physically engaging in something else. And here's something to consider. Will this even matter in a year? Because overthinking blows things out of proportion. Something small, like a text you sent, an awkward conversation, a minor decision, suddenly feels huge. But if you step back and ask yourself, will I even remember this a year from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. And if it won't matter a year from now, then why give it so much power now? This is where mindfulness becomes one of the best tools you can develop. Overthinking thrives in regret about the past and anxiety about the future, but mindfulness pulls you back into the present moment. The more you train yourself to focus on what's happening now, the less your mind gets lost in all the what-ifs. And let's talk about something that fuels overthinking more than anything: perfectionism. Overthinking convinces you that you need to make the perfect choice, send the perfect text, say the perfect thing. But perfection doesn't exist. The need to be perfect is just another way of saying I'm afraid to make a mistake. But mistakes aren't the enemy. Staying stuck is. Instead of trying to make the perfect choice, focus on making a choice. Done is better than perfect. Action is better than endless thinking. Progress is always better than staying frozen. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is just accept that you've done enough. Overthinking thrives on the idea that you're not doing enough, not trying hard enough, not good enough. But at some point, you have to stop and say, I've done what I can. I need to let this go, because the reality is you can only do your best, and your best is enough. So here's the takeaway. If you want to stop overthinking, recognize when you're doing it, catch yourself in the spiral. Calm your body first. Use deep breathing, movement, or mindfulness to shift out of stress mode. Take action. Because the only way to get clarity is to move forward. At the end of the day, overthinking is just your brain trying to keep you safe. But the best things in life, the best decisions, the best opportunities, the best growth, happen when you stop waiting for the perfect answer and just take the next step. And speaking of feeling stuck, what if your problem isn't overthinking at all? What if you're actually burned out? If you're mentally drained, unmotivated, and struggling to push through, you might not be lazy, you might be exhausted. We have a video in our channel which reveals 6 signs that you're burned out, not lazy, so you can finally recognize what's really going on and start recovering. Click to watch now, and don't forget to subscribe to Psych Bites for more insights into psychology, motivation, and mental well-being. See you in the next one.